Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti e benvenuti al webinar Loescher ed Anna insieme a Helbling English dal titolo Space Exploration. Today we'll look at vocabulary building and we'll do some grammar practice for your B1 students using right here, Helbling English's pre-intermediate course book, and Last Voyage, a reader by one of the authors of the course, Martin Hobbs. Il webinar rientra nella programmazione e supporto della didattica a distanza promossa dalle case editrici Loescher ed Anna che ci ospitano oggi, tenendo conto delle esigenze didattiche emerse a seguito dell'emergenza sanitaria che obbliga la chiusura delle scuole. Interviene Nora Nagy, un'insegnante di inglese e ricercatrice universitaria, che tra i suoi campi di ricerca c'è la multimodalità semiotica, la didattica museale, lo sviluppo dell'abilità di scrittura in lingua straniera e ha una passione straordinaria per space travel. Nora è anche coautrice del Helbling Readers blog e ha adattato per la Helbling Reader Series The Age of Innocence di Edith Wharton, che è stato arrivato come finalista del prestigioso premio LLL. Io sono Maria e mi occupo della chat e vi passo a Nora e auguro un buon webinar a tutti.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see that some of you from yesterday have come back to today's seminar as well. And today we talk about a very interesting topic. It's space exploration. We will look at vocabulary and then we will work a little bit with grammar. So what are we going to do today? First, we are going to look at planets and we will talk about outer space. And then we will zoom on the International Space Station and explore the vocabulary connected to the space station. And then we will also talk about the present passive for processes. Vocabulary building also means knowledge building in a way. So I really hope that by the end of this session, we will know a lot more about space, or we will have some ideas to explore space meaningfully. So today's plan, as Maria has already mentioned, is based on two resources. One of them is right here, our pre-intermediate course book, which also has a skills book. And the Last Voyage was written by Martin Hobbs. And all these materials somehow explore space. Unit 11 in right here deals in more depth with space and space travel. And the activities I have created for today are based on materials from the course book and also on the reader. So let's start. This fact file is from the Last Voyage, and I don't want you to read the fact file. I just like you to look at the image itself. And let's do a quick check about outer space and our solar system. How many planets are there in our solar system? If you know the answer, please write it in the chat box. So how many planets are there? It's easy, you can also count it. All right. All right. Everybody is saying 8. There used to be 9, but now officially we have 8 planets in the solar system. That's right. All right, so these 8 planets. Can you also please give me some adjectives which describe the planets in general? So let's collect some adjectives. Let's collect some adjectives which describe the planets. Huge, desert distant, big, small, hot and cold. Let's see. Huge, rocky, that's good. Also think about the material. So are they saying it's rocky and distant? Unreachable, some of the planets are unreachable and some are reachable. Think about the materials. Gas, rock, yes, that's very good. There are some unknown minerals. Cecilia, that's right. Sandy. Liquid. Some are solid. The terrestrial ones are solid. water. There's water on more than one planet, and there was water in more than one planet actually. Anyone else? Okay. Uninhabited. And that's it. Okay. That's interesting vocabulary. So I think it's a good way to start talking about the planet is to collect as many adjectives as you can so that you can describe them more deeply. In general, we can say that there are three types of planets. The first group is terrestrial planets. Then we have the Jovian planets, and within the Jovian planets, we have ice giants and we have gas giants. And we will talk a little bit more about them. Next, we will do a planet quiz. You will read definition of planets, and I'd like you to guess the name of the planet. Of course, you can use some help if you want, but maybe we will know all the answers on our own. So let's see. It's a small rocky planet, and it's the closest to the planet to the sun. Which one is this? Answers are coming in. All right. Any more answers? I will also show you a picture in a second. People are all saying Mercury. Yes, and there's a picture of this planet. It's small and it's very close to the sun. All right. Next question. It's easy. It's known as the red planet and is the fourth planet from the sun. All right, as an extra question, we all know it's Mars. Can you also tell me the name of a song written by a famous British musician, which contains the same planet name? Yes, Barbara, thank you. It's Life on Mars by David Bowie. Good, thank you. So here's a picture of Mars. All right, let's move on. It's a gas planet and it's got the largest rings. It's not Neptune. People are saying Saturn. And let's see. Yes. The rings are really beautiful, I think, around Saturn. Nice. All right. So it's a gas planet and it's also known as a gas giant, as it's the eighth planet from the sun and it's the coldest planet. I have to admit that here we have a tiny problem. This planet is not a gas planet, but it's an ice planet. I made a mistake here. But it's the coldest planet and it is the eighth planet. And it has a beautiful blue color. And everyone is saying that it's Neptune. Yes, it is a beautiful ice planet. All right, we have one more. Here is the second planet from the sun, is the hottest planet with the longest day. And it is Venus. All right. Good answers. All right, some of you have mentioned a planet before. It's a dwarf planet discovered in 1930. And this poor planet is not an official big planet anymore. And it is actually called, you are all getting it right. Any more answers? Pluto. Okay, good. It's the largest planet with 4 large moons. It's a gas giant. What can it be? Jupiter. All right. Okay. The four planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, are called Jovian planets because of the name of Jupiter. Maybe you have already known this. And finally, is the third planet from the Sun. It's got one moon and liquid water on its surface. And yes, this is our beautiful planet, planet Earth. All right. As you see, when you describe the planets, you can practice adjectives, and you can practice different forms of adjectives. So it's a really good way to revise some and recycle some grammar and vocabulary as well. Now, moving on. Oh, someone is asking, sorry, why isn't Pluto considered a planet anymore? First of all, it's because it was declassified as a dwarf planet, but it is also because it has an elliptical orbit around the Sun. It's one of the reasons, but if you want to read more, you can check out the NASA website. They have a really good description of all these changes. All right, so let's move on to space exploration. This fact file is also from the last voyage. And before we move on, I would like you to come up with some words that you associate with space. Okay, let's collect a couple of words you associate with space. Discover, explore. Some verbs are coming in. Launch, explore, you're on a mission, float, land, aliens. Nice. Astronaut, space dream, rocket. Very nice words. Gravity. Very nice words. And the space shuttle. All right, we are going to have a closer look at 8 words, and we will do this through simple images. So I would like you to look at these words and write down the one word you associate with each picture from 1 to 4. So number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. Maybe 1 and 2 are very easy. The third one, I would like you to concentrate on those circles around the sun. And the fourth one, I think, is quite obvious. All right. So words like galaxy, telescope, solar system, orbit are coming in. And they're saying galaxy, star, solar system, and telescope. These are all very good words. All right. So let's have a look. You can see the answers now at the bottom of the slide. The first one is galaxy. The second one is constellation. The third one is orbit. And the fourth one is telescope. Some of you have already mentioned, but do you know the name of our galaxy? There are over 500 solar planets in this galaxy, which is called, Daniela is saying, Barbara is saying, all of you are saying, it is the Milky Way. Yeah. Number 2, constellation. Do you have a favorite constellation? Someone is saying Taurus. Orion. Nice. Cassiopeia. Very nice. Okay. The third one is orbit, and the fourth one is telescope. Let me have a quick question here. Do you know the name of a big telescope in outer space? Outer space, we have a large telescope which takes beautiful pictures. Yes, and Barbara is really quick. Very good. It's the Hubble. And the pronunciation, the spelling is Hubble. Hubble. Yes. All right. We have 4 more words. Let's move on. All right. From 5 to 8. What words do we have here? Number 5. People are saying that number 5 is a satellite. Luana is saying that it is the International Space Station, and she's very right because the ISS is a large satellite. Number 6. What is number 6? It looks like a rocket, but what do you call this event? What's happening right now? What are they doing to this big rocket or space shuttle? Barbara is saying, and Daniela is also saying, launch. That's true. All right, number 7. Look at that man. I'm interested in the profession of the man in the picture in number 7. All right. It's an observatory, yes. And he is an astronomer. That's good. What about number 8? What do you call these large rocks that come into our atmosphere? They are meteors. All right, let's check quickly. So satellite, launch, astronomer, and meteor. Very nice. All right. We have one quick exercise here. I have 3 words for you. Can you please write a very simple 1-sentence definition for these 3 words? Galaxy, satellite, and meteor. Galaxy is a group of stars. Someone says a group of constellations. You can say that it's a large group of stars and planets, more like a system. A group of solar systems, that's also a really good definition. Yes, because a group of stars can also be a constellation, so it's better to specify what a galaxy is. What about a satellite? What's a satellite? An artificial body in the sky. Anyone else? A man-made space vehicle? Yes, good. Planet that orbits around another one. That's also true. Very nice. And what about the last one? Number 8 was meteor. Can you please give me a definition for that? Falling stars. That's what, yes. So meteors are actually not stars, but we call them falling stars because they look like stars. They are actually rocks that enter our atmosphere. Very nice. All right. So you remember that we have already mentioned that one of the largest and the biggest satellite in outer space is the International Space Station. Next, we will learn a bit more about the ISS. and also practice some vocabulary connected to the ISS. Before we move on and read a bit about the ISS, can you please give me some words to describe the ISS? So what do we know about the International Space Station? Ah, you all recognize someone here. That's nice. Very nice. Shared space lab. You can float. All right. No gravity. Absence of gravity. We have a special word for that. They are all floating. You can see it from Earth with your eyes, says Luana. That's very true. Actually, there is an application, you can check it online for the ISS, and it will tell you the exact time when the ISS passes over your country or your city even. It's a space lab. Very nice. An environment different from Earth, equipped with technological refined machinery to explore space. Very nice explanation, Silvestra. All right. So next we will read fun facts about the ISS, and we will also get some more information about the ISS. I would like you, if possible, to take notes as you are reading. And this is my one tip for vocabulary development and also for vocabulary learning. When you are reading a new text or an article about something, always take notes and take notes of new vocabulary. After you have read the article and after you have watched a video, for example, and you have taken notes, use the words that you have written into your notebook to retell what you have learned from the text. So this is what we are going to do now. We will look at some fun facts about the ISS, and you can take some notes, and then you can share this new knowledge with other people. So it's a science lab. Meals are eaten from packets, not from plates. Uh, Astronauts don't go to bed. They either hang their sleeping bag on the wall or just float around. On the ISS, astronauts experience 16 sunrises and sunsets every day. That's a bit much. Astronauts must be mentally strong. Space missions can take years, so they don't see their friends and family for a long time. And Scott Kelly spent 340 days in space. Actually, you can watch a really nice film about his mission, Scott Kelly's mission in space, and he tells you a lot about how he dealt with being all alone at the ISS for a very long period of time. So when you have read this, you can take some notes and also some fun facts about like how many sunrises and sunsets there are. Good. Now let's see some more info. So this is the largest satellite in orbit around the Earth. 239 individuals from 19 countries have visited the ISS so far. It has been continuously occupied since November 2000. There's an international crew of 6 people who live and work on the ISS. It orbits the Earth about every 90 minutes. It travels at a speed of 5 miles, about 8 kilometers per second. In 24 hours, the space station makes 16 orbits of Earth, and the astronauts work out at least 2 hours a day. It's quite important for them. And astronauts and cosmonauts have had more than 221 spacewalks since December 1998. Of course, the spacewalk started before the ISS was occupied for the first time because astronauts had to go up there to actually build the ISS. And they needed quite a lot of spacewalks to do that. So let's work a little bit more with vocabulary. I have highlighted some words here which you might find interesting. These are in orbit, orbits, and orbits again, crew, astronauts, cosmonauts, and spacewalks. Let's work a little bit more with these expressions. So one important thing here to note is that orbit can be used as a verb, as a noun, and also it can be used with a preposition. So a satellite can be in orbit, the ISS orbits the Earth, and the ISS makes 16 orbits of Earth, and it is launched into orbit. All right. So these are some facts to remember about the word. Now let's move on. If you remember the text that we were reading before, you can tell me the answer. What do you call a group of people working on the ISS? Yes, very easy. So an international crew of 6 people live and work on the ISS. That's very nice. Good. Next question. What do you call the people who work on the ISS? So it is not the group, but the actual people. What's their job? Paula is saying 2 words. So some of you are saying astronauts, some of you are saying also cosmonauts. Do you know the difference between an astronaut and a cosmonaut? Not really, you are saying? So let's find out. An astronaut is the international name for someone who works out in space, and we have a special name for Russian astronauts, and they are called cosmonauts. And Barbara was writing it already. So the only difference is that we typically use cosmonauts for a Russian astronaut. Very nice. So what do astronauts do when they leave the ISS? It is, you are all getting it right. Very nice. It's called a spacewalk. You can watch these spacewalks even live sometimes if you go on the NASA website. They are pretty fascinating. All right. So we will learn a bit more now. I'd like you to read this text, and then I will have a couple of questions about the text. So astronauts are trained to deal with zero gravity, 0G, using strange machines. They are put into an aircraft called the Vomit Comet to get used to 0G. They are also strapped into a mechanical chair known as the 5DF, 5 degrees of freedom, to experience life in orbit. So if you like, you can take some notes now. And then we will move on to work a little bit more with the vocabulary here. All right, let's see if you remember the answers. What are astronauts trained to do? They are trained to deal with 0G. All right, good. So are trained to deal with zero gravity using strange machines. Here, there's an interesting verb to highlight. Deal with, when you take action to do something or solve a problem of something. Okay. So someone was saying before that there's absence of gravity. Another way to describe this is zero G, zero gravity. Let's see the next question. Do you remember what the Vomit Comet is? An aircraft? It's an aircraft, a spacecraft. Yes. You can also watch some videos of people trying out this spacecraft or aircraft. So they are put into an aircraft called the Vomit Comet to get used to zero G. So it's an aircraft. Get used to here is an interesting expression. When you become familiar with something, you get used to it. So they get used to zero G. All right. The next one is really interesting. I'm not sure if you know this. 5DF. We talked about this before. It's a mechanical chair. Let's see. So they are also strapped into, that's very nice, a mechanical chair known as 5 degrees of freedom to experience life in orbit. Here it's interesting to mention that 5 degrees of freedom refers to, I don't know if anyone of you knows this. If you do, then please write it in the chat box. 5 degrees of freedom. What does it describe? What kind of freedom is this? It might be difficult. Someone says speed. Cecilia, you are right. It is movement, yes. So 5 degrees of freedom means 5 degrees of freedom of movement. So this chair doesn't simply go up and down, but it goes in all sorts of directions. Yes. In space, there are actually 6 degrees of freedom. You can read more about it on the NASA website or on Wikipedia. You can also check out the chair itself. Some people can also try it probably if they visit some of these centers. Here, in the previous slide, I mentioned the expression to get used to. Here, let me mention a new one. Strapped into, and strapped into means to keep in position. All right. All right. So let's look at some grammar rules now. Astronauts are trained to deal with zero gravity using strange machines, we say here. So what happens to the astronauts? What is the main verb here? Can you please write the verb in the chat box here? Train. What is this expression? To be trained. So the main verb is to be trained. Trained in the passive. And that's what we are going to practice now a little. Astronauts are trained to deal with zero gravity. Good. Do we know who trains the astronauts? Who does the training for them? Is it written in the sentence? Yes, Barbara, you are saying that it's NASA. That we know this because we have this knowledge. But in this sentence, it is not written because it's not really relevant now. The focus is on the astronaut, not on the agent. So there is no agent, Gabriela, that's right. It's not important. So sometimes we have the contextual knowledge, but it's not written in the sentence, and this happens here. Astronauts are trained to deal with zero gravity. So we can use the present passive to say what happens when the agent is not important, as you have all pointed out. I'm laughing because Luana has made a funny comment. Use the present passive to describe these processes. And now we are going to take a look at how it is done. So I like using colors to mark the different parts of speech in a sentence, because this way a sentence will look a bit more colorful. It's a bit like building blocks. So you can say that astronauts, the blue one is someone or something. Are is the to be. It's like Lego, exactly. And trained is the past participle. So I don't think that we really need to remember the linguistic description of the sentence here. It's important to remember that someone or something makes, does, or is something. So here, someone or something, to be plus the past participle. Astronauts are trained. I think it's pretty easy to remember this. Let's do some practice. Find two examples of the present passive in this sentence, please. Is tied down. And what is the next one? And then you find the second one, which is are held. All right, so they are tied down and it is held in place. Tied down, are held in place. Good. Let's move on. You remember that we said before that it's not that important when we use the present passive to say who the agent is, but sometimes we might want to add some information about it. And here we can add it by using by seat belts and straps. So you can use by to say who or what causes the action if you really want to do that. Here it is specific and it's specified. Yes, in this sentence. Daniela, that's true. Thank you. Okay. Some practice here for you. In space, everything in the station is tied down, otherwise it would float, and astronauts are held in place by seatbelts and straps. What is the correct form of the verb here? Tools are kept, it's plural, in past participle. Tools are kept in their pockets. Daniela is saying have to be kept, that's also fine, but we can just go with are kept here. Nice, thank you. Okay. All right, next slide. Here I haven't written the verbs for you, but you could guess a verb and put it in the correct passive form, please. "2 hours a day are spent, astronauts are kept into," someone is saying, "are devoted, are spent." Always pay attention to the preposition that follows, or to any kind of word that follows a gap when you are doing a gap fill activity. And with the second one, you all got it right, that it's spent on exercise. But with the second one, look at the preposition that follows the gap. We used this word before, and now you are okay, you have found a word. Even in the gym, astronauts, let's see. I can see a lot of answers coming in. They're all very different, but most of you have written these answers: are spent and are strapped. So as I said, it's important to check out what follows a gap, because that will give you some clues about the right answer. So here it's strapped into place. If somebody has written tight, that would also work here, because that's the same notion, same idea here. All right. Now, before we move on to see how you can continue learning more about space, I would like you to think a bit about what we have talked about before, about the ISS and about the planets and about outer space. I have asked you to take some notes. And can you please write 2 things that you have learned about outer space or the ISS in the chat box? So let's see. You can also use some interesting vocabulary here and write something about the new expression or the new object that you learned about. So Danielle is saying a crew is made of 6 people on the ISS. The largest satellite is a science lab. Someone is saying to strap into. So they don't go to bed, not in the traditional way. Of course, they sleep, but not like in normal life. All right. Now I would like you to write some full sentences, because you are saying 5DF, and let's pretend that I have no idea about 5DF. Can you please explain it to me? What is 5DF? Five degrees of freedom in movement. 5 degrees of freedom of movement. And how can you experience it? Do you remember the object that you can use to experience 5 degrees of freedom? There you go. It's a chair. What kind of chair is it? Let's use some, yes, mechanical chair. Good. Now let's see. You have written, most of you have written that the vomit comet was a new expression that you have learned today. Can you please write down what a vomit comet is? So what is it? There you go. The vomit comet is an aircraft. Why do you need this aircraft? What do you use it for? Why is it important to have an aircraft called Vomit Comet for an astronaut? So what do you, or Julia has written a nice expression here. Could you put it in a sentence? To get used to 0G. So can you please put it in a sentence? To deal with gravity, to get used to 0G, to stimulate living in 0G. Tanya has written a nice sentence, to use it to get used to zero gravity. All right, let's see one more thing, if you remember this. Do you remember how many sunrises and sunsets astronauts can see in outer space or from the ISS? Okay, that's easy. Good. One more question. Do you remember the different uses of orbit? How can you use the expression orbit? In orbit? All right, now let's see some sentences. Oh, so quick. Your answers are coming in so quickly and I can't read them. All right, if you can write one sentence using the name of a planet or some new space vocabulary plus the word orbit. The ISS orbits around the Earth. There you go, there's a full sentence. In 90 minutes. Very nice. The Earth. The ISS makes 16 orbits a day. They are launched into orbit. All right. So you see now that this is how you can actually read a text, collect expressions, and then use these expressions, these new phrases in full sentences. It's important to say full sentences because that's how you can remember how to use prepositions and how to use the words in their correct forms. Nice. So if you would like to continue learning a bit more about outer space, maybe if you have this book, what you can do, if you read an article, you can go on, as we said, we have sent you quite a lot of links to different NASA websites. It's always a good idea to underline and collect all the words about space or life in space. In right here in Unit 11, you will read the whole article about life in space. And in this particular text, you can also practice more uses of the passive voice. If you go to pages 114 and 115 in the pre-intermediate right here students book, you can even read about space junk, because space junk is also a very important issue that we can talk about when it comes to space, not only space exploration. And if you also have the skills book, you can watch a video about astronauts to practice not only listening skills but viewing skills. But of course, you can go on any NASA YouTube channel and watch videos about astronauts. But if you have right here, you will see the videos also in the media app. Now, what else can you do if you want to learn more about space? You can go on our blog. We have a Helbling Readers blog. You will see some project ideas called Beyond the Moon. We have 4 blog posts about space and the moon. And you can see some more web resources and find some more CLIL project ideas to learn more about space. And so you can do some more language practice, you can do some more project-based learning, and you can also read more. Even if your level is A2 or B1, you can read 2 exciting stories. I love these 2 stories. One written by Robert Campbell and one by Martin Hobbs, the co-author of the book right here. Next Door and Last Voyage are 2 interesting books about space travel and outer space. So I also recommend these 2 stories. And finally, if you would like to follow us, you can do that on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. And you can also follow our blog, where you find lots of ideas to learn more about literature or CLIL projects. You can subscribe to our newsletter on our website. And if you need any more help or you have any questions, you can just email us at support@helbling.com. It was nice to spend this hour with you today. And if you have any questions, do ask in the chat box. Maybe we can answer it right now. Otherwise, I hope you have enjoyed it. And maybe when you go outside tonight and you look up at the sky, you will look for stars in English and you will think about what's out there in English now, using the new vocabulary that you have learned. So thank you for your attention, and I wish you a very nice weekend. Thank you.